Tawazani, Sanbonani, Tamagwini, Lesedi, Khanya. This is a 15-minute insert on Motivation Sunday with Gogo Dineo, inspirational talks on variety of topics. Hey, ngikuphi namhlanje ngisesigodlweni sami, ngisendumbeni yami. This is my ndumba, and it's so interesting. I know Shabalala is showing clips of my ndumba. Ngingene sengithukuthele, that I had to come down before I come in here, because apparently somebody came to see me. So one minute, personally, I don't practice on Sundays and on Saturdays. I practice Monday to Thursday, and somebody almost got scammed. And I called the scammer, and we're talking, and he's talking to me. I'm like, but I thought I was booking an appointment, not Gogo Dineo. Where's Gogo Dineo? I was like, oh no, Gogo Dineo is busy. I was like, what the F? The wild in me came out. As in, there's something. I think I don't know what I can do really. Because we don't have laws that are strict in this country that can deal with people like that. It's just to say people should, but another one will boom and another one. So just be vigilant. The minute umuntu angihlale 4 ways ngise-Cosmo City, that's where I'm based, and if ngise-Cosmo City uzothi mongena kuzoba namaphawu, kufanele kube namathwasa, kufanele kube nezinto ukuthi ngempela ukaGogo Dineo. So just please be careful. So back to the motivation, which is actually, it had to do with, I guess, this, because it's the 10 lessons I learned ephehlweni, life lessons that I learned ephehlweni. So the first lesson I learned, Uguti, when things fall apart, they're actually falling into place for your highest good. So what is it that I learned? So mengene ephehlweni, I had a job, everything was intact except my sanity, because I went into phehlo not with a lot of other typical symptoms like babes. I would have random dreams, but I actually had a vivid dream about my trainer, but I had smaller dreams about them. I just couldn't recognize the face until I met them. And then the ultimate dream where ubabu wami angisa khona, because ubabu wami ulobola impande, so ngithwasise ugogo. So I then went in, and when I went in ephehlweni, my husband of then, because me and Mkhulu Mkashwa are not together anymore as in husband and wife, but we're still together in the workspace. So when I went in, I lost my job. Immediately, I was told that my contract is not being renewed because of the financial crisis of 2010. I was upset. I was devastated, because I thought I have accepted the calling. Why is it Majihlozi Lifunan? And I remember crying into Minga Gogo, and all she was doing was just throwing words of fireballs at me, and I was like, oh my God, what have I signed up for? But it was such a gift, because what I learned about things falling into place is that what I was called to do for this moment and this time required me to be invested and not have work, because my work was demanding and I was traveling a lot. So I learned so much more during the day than I learned if I would have come back at from work at a particular time. So I also learned that losing my job meant that I can actually trust the process much more and know who my ancestors were, because I let go and I let Lozi. I let go and I let Lozi, which is my second lesson, because when I surrendered into the process, I was taken care of. I was worried about the fine, because Baba at the time was not working. So 2 months into my job lost, he went back to his workplace, because that's how they know each other. And the CEO bumped into him. Can you imagine a CEO of a very big company of Mercedes-Benz bumping into an employee and saying, hey, I haven't seen you in the premises for a while. What's going on? It's like, I don't work here anymore. It's like, what are you talking about? Bring your CV. We've got a position for you. And he got hired like that. So, it taught me to trust everything is in divine order. When things fall apart, they're falling together, because at that time I needed to learn what it's like to be taken care of, because I've always been a breadwinner. I've always been taking care of people. But once I got to ephehlweni, I became a child, not in the essence of Gutwasa, but nasekaya, because money came from home. For groceries, I would always call my dad for things. It would be frustrating, because from the ages of high school years, I was very independent. I was a hustler, doing some stock sweetie, to the name callings and to the name shamings of a high school girl who angabujola nama taxi driver now we are hasila. But I learned to be taken care of. which was really, I learned to receive, which was something that was very difficult for me, learning to receive. But I learned to receive from ihlozlam, and I got to know ukuthi bakhona, because with no fail imali yahlangana through everything else. And I remember the 6 month post phehlo, unemployed, I got a call to come and do some piece of work which paid for into soyam, which paid for inkomo ga gogo, which paid for most of the things. And because I surrendered. But the third lesson in the surrender was what? Tanda into pure yonizok back. Love what you've been gifted, it will gift you back. Because instead of sitting and moping and complaining, I started to enjoy the things that I never thought I would enjoy. I started enjoying actually walking barefooted. I started enjoying being in the red skirt. I started enjoying every 3 hours mengisekhaya, just asking ukuthi bangenza ukuthi ngikhaliphe ngihlakaniphe. I started enjoying ukugaya imithi, and I learned medicine through that process, because mengilokhu ngigaya bengikhona ukucula. So ephehlweni we have very little sleep. You sleep very smallanyana hours, but I learned the things that actually that will help my body be fully functional and optimal health, and that it would be energized and active irrespective of little sleep. I actually also learned Guti, I am beyond this body and the physical form. I am divine spirit that is infinite, and in my infinity I can actually be in creation, and that I was a co-creator, which is my fourth lesson, a co-creator of my reality ephehlweni. So I was not a hopeless victim. When things were happening, poor me and why me, I understood that my attitude determined my altitude, and my altitude determined my outcome of how my phehlo life was gonna be like. So I started to change my attitude altogether. Ngicale sengiphahla mengidla igobongo lami ngithi bogogo nabomkhulu ngenzeni ngithanda umsebenzi wenu, ngenzeni bogogo nabomkhulu ngamukele lokho eninginika khona. So that was one of my mantras: make me love this gift that you have gifted me. And I could realize that I always got excited when I went in Dumbeni, even though I had uvalo to consult. I got excited when a patient came back and we had to go some geza. I got excited Monsieur Betela. So I fell in love. I started to fall in love because I changed my attitude, which changed my altitude, which changed my outcome of how phehlo life was. So lesson number 5. Imithetho yasempandeni, or imithetho nemilayo yasephehlweni. So the rules and regulations or principles of engagement of how you carry yourself. So I was always a why person. Why sivusela? Why siguqa? Why senza so? To ugogwam's frustration, ukuthi yazi wena the learned one, you are a troublemaker. And I wasn't trying to create trouble. I was just trying to understand why we do what we do so I can embrace it. I was trying to understand why can't we just get auntie to come help, because I had an auntie in my house. So I understood a lot more of through the discipline of ukulandela imithetho, because through that I also learned ukuthi idlozi alivalwa, izenzo livala idlozi. So what do I mean by that? There's no one who can take your gift away or distract you or take your powers away. Your powers are actually not even taken. You move away from your own powers with the misbehaviors, because a lot of us be like, angivoging namhlanje, angigeza ngamanzi ashisayo, things that are said that you would know, I'm kneeling, why am I kneeling? Let me tell you, I learned to kneel is not to actually guba islima, is to surrender to divinity. I learned that everything grows from the ground up. The plane has to take flight from the ground up. A tree to grow and bear such delicious fruit starts from the ground. So everything that's deeply rooted on the ground bears greater fruits. So that's why I started to respect, to actually kneel. And I surrendered my ego. So uDineo umuntu wasehlehlele emuva and lehlozi lele ngihamba nalo laseliza phambili through the kneelings. But ukunila is kulfisa sephehlweni. So I learned a lot of things. I learned to gita. I fell in love nokugita, nokuhlabelela, even though ngibhimbi, but I understood that singing liberated my spirit. Dancing set me free. So the energy that was contained in me, in which I did not know how to express, that came in my life as mental disease, that appeared as ngilihlanya, because I would get so angry. It's because I was walking with warriors, and warriors, when they stomp their feet, they shake the ground and things do happen. So I learned the importance of imithetho, which their place, because everything that is set that way, it is set for you to be made well within what is not made well. And I understood, because when the tough got going, I used to say this too shall pass, because nothing stays the same in spirit world. Change is the only thing that's constant. And in phehlo, I learned that as well. And I learned to because I was sent to my gobela. Remember, I spoke earlier on and when I said things fall apart to fall into place, I remember everything was falling falling apart and I was going to go Gyotwasa ephehlweni because that's the place I knew there was a healer or who was initiating people, and everything for me was falling apart, and I was desperate because I would drive and not know where I'm going. I would leave my children unattended, drop them at my mom's workplace. Crazy, and I was so desperate putting your twasa because I was just tired. I've had enough of these experiences. I wanted something, and something in me didn't allow. And then when I went, I did my own consultations because I used to do, I still do angel cards and palmistry and all of those things. They said no. I was like, let me try the bones. Then I went to somebody who my dad worked with because my dad was young, and then like, no, Lindy Pupa, 2010, remember things were falling apart, but they were falling into place for me and paving my path to find my Gobela. And when I did a meditation, because I used to meditate and I still meditate a lot, I saw a vision, and then Spirit said, go see this person. I told this person, that same night I had a vivid dream about Ugobela wam, Ukoko Zongtwasisa. I didn't know her. I just described her house. I described everything. I only knew Ubabu wam ephupheni angisa lapho athi the only person who can help you is my Gobela, and didn't say Ozokuthwasisa, didn't say anything. Uthe Ozokusiza. Mengifika lapho and things fell into place for me. So even though things were falling apart in my life, but Lozi was actually putting things into place for me to find the right kind of teacher. So everything that was set as umthetho, even though it looks ridiculous or it sounded crazy, you understand. So some things I understood them much better. Why she was so strict with me and why she had to be so aggressive with me, because she had to shed off. She was pruning me. She was shaping me. She was shaping me into a masterpiece, because I used to feel because I couldn't nap. Every time I'd go like this, she would come, and then it would be but I learned uguti, you actually reap what you sow. You plant seeds of bananas, you shall get bananas. You plant laziness ephehlweni, you will reap laziness. Because she used to say, give me, every chicken you are slaughtering, you will slaughter at your house. Everything you do here, you shall do when you come out. And indeed, that's exactly what happened, because I was always gisabela, even though some people would call me a fool, or bathi ngizenza slim, or ufuna ukuthanda ukugobela. I understood ukuthi this woman, she was placed in my life for a reason, or for a season, or for a lifetime, and I had to take and make it, count. So I made it count, to the detriment of being an outcast to my fellow brothers and siblings. And indeed, I've learned to embrace my uniqueness. I think we are on 7. On 7, I learned to embrace my uniqueness. I don't want it to be more than 15 minutes, so please give me a sign there, Guti. How far am I? 15, 20 gupi, because I wanted to upload it on Insta TV. So I learned Uguti, embrace my uniqueness. So mina ephehlweni bengakhona ukubhula shaya isibona ses bengakhona, or he kikitima or ke mathalo wena me kikitima du mahlo I couldn't, and I said to her, every time I do that, for me feels like I'm acting out and I can't hear anything. Ngiyablockega. How I consult is this: even when people come, I have a conversation with you. There's no antics or things, and I've learned to embrace that uniqueness. I learned ukuthi mina angphuphi every day. But then I learned ukuthi Spirit speaks to me in other forms. Ngikhumbula ngelanga lentwaso bangithumisa. I went to go buy bread. On my way there, I heard a voice saying, look to your left. I looked to my left, but imbuzi yakho bazoyifihla la, izofihla umuntu so. And indeed, that was what it was, because throughout the process of initiation, I learned to what? To let go and let Lozi. So I knew what I was being directed. So I didn't see where my goat was going to be hidden, but I was told on the day where it was going to be hidden. Again, it comes to those things. It's not abuse, but it's sabelu yabizwa ngasabela ngayestoro ngayotenga, and all those things were in conjunction. And we were told ukuthi sebenzisa insebenzo, that comes into discipline. Idlimpande futa palaza kata. So all those things that you are told to do, it's not just because there's nothing else Ugobela wako wants to do. I learned kuti listening and applying things, even though they look ridiculous, because remember, we are egotistic beings as human beings, and we come in ephehlweni with a certain knowing and understanding of things that we want to project into the process, and we fail to actually surrender to Abapansi. And when you are failing to surrender to Abapansi, you are failing to surrender to the divine you. And when you fail to surrender to the divine you, you will be unable to create the wellness that you are seeking to create ephehlweni. So I learned about umfazi. ephehlweni, because I learned ukupheka nge 3-foot pot. As much as like, oh, what are they making me do? But when I came back, I was such a disciplined, I was such a humble, I was always a humble person, but I would not resist izinto without understanding why I was being asked. I remember for kabundlanzi, and then nobody said like, oh, we don't know how to ukuhluta amathumbu wembuzi. I was like, no, I know. I learned that ephehlweni ngoba I stopped ukunyonya. I started to see positivity in everything. So instead of seeing things falling apart, I saw them fall into place. Instead of seeing mistakes, I saw God lessons that God wants me to learn. Instead of seeing what somebody was against me, I saw somebody who's mirroring something that I need to pay attention and deal with. So I learned so much that I will continue sharing my lessons from ephehlweni, and I hope you've learned something from the stream. Let me know what other inspiration I can inspire you about how to deal with kids abane gift, how to deal with parents who are refusing, how to homosexuality and African spirituality, sex and spirituality. Just send me a DM and say, Gogo, please motivate us on this topic. So I hope you enjoyed my section on 10 lessons that I learned ephehlweni that have stayed with me. And the biggest one is that ngizalwa ebukhosini. I radiate with royalty, and ugogo wami always said